The left-wing German playwright Bertolt Brecht used to talk about something he called, well, I can't pronounce it in German, I can't even come close, but it was sometimes translated as the alienation effect. He wanted audiences to leave his plays not happy with an emotionally satisfying resolution to a problem, but disturbed, uneasy, upset, so that they would go out and presumably try to make their world a better place than the world they had seen depicted in the theater. Maybe instinctively, that's why my last monologue of the show is always about something really horrible and doom-laden and upsetting. And since I've been on that roll for a few months now, why on earth would I stop now? And speaking of the earth, how's this for inciting an alienation effect? Reports this week show that the North Pole temperature has surged above freezing in the dead of winter. As a Washington Post headline says, this is stunning to scientists. Now, the sun won't even rise in the North Pole until March 20th. This is supposed to be more or less the coldest time of year, but it actually rose above freezing. There is also a lot of bad signs in the fact that we're seeing all this snow. It doesn't mean that global warming is over. It means that our climate is more unstable than ever, unless it's some sort of weird and freakish anomaly. So I guess the moral here is that our planet is in very, very serious trouble. Now, there was an interview recently with the climate scientist Jonathan Watts conducted the interview, a Q&A, and he says the climate has not fixed itself. Many scientists are concerned that all the snow we've gotten lately is a prelude to more extreme and less predictable weather. In fact, they say that there's, he mentioned the heat wave that I just pointed out. It has been warmer at times in the Arctic than it has been at the same time in London, Paris, or New York. Now think about that for a second. Warmer at the North Pole than in London, Paris, or New York. Something very disturbing is going on. As Jonathan Watts says, even veteran climatologists have been shocked by the recent temperature spike. It's very unlikely, but possible it's a one-off freak event, but it actually looks very bad. They go on to talk about the polar vortex, which gets its strength from the difference in temperatures between the Arctic and the warmer, more southern latitudes. That gap is reducing, which is changing all of our global climate patterns. Now, the last question in his Q&A, Jonathan Watts, is what can be done? He answers, beyond blindly hoping that this is an anomaly, climate activists say the warming of the Arctic highlights the need for urgent political action to rapidly reverse deforestation and phase out fossil fuels. Notice that he does not say reduce our consumption of fossil fuels. He says phase out fossil fuels. Now, deforestation is being caused in Brazil and elsewhere by runaway economic predation. Our dependence on fossil fuels is caused by our unwillingness to change our patterns of consumption, but it is not a problem of individual quote-unquote consumer behavior. It is a problem of capitalism run amok. There's no other way to put it. There's no polite way to put it. Now, there can be a debate about whether capitalism can be substantially reformed in time to save the planet, or whether it's necessary to dismantle it altogether. I'm happy to engage in that debate with an open mind, but there is something that is no longer subject to debate, and that is this. Our current economic system is destroying the planet Earth. It is about to make large portions of the planet uninhabitable. It is already causing enormous amounts of death, illness, and financial deprivation. We've talked about that in other programs. Trillions of dollars have been lost. Millions of lives have been lost. It just happens so quietly, one at a time, and in ways that we don't even point to. But the Earth is being devastated. It is a planetary emergency. We need to wrestle our politics away from the oligarchs, and we need an economic system that works for everyone and the planet we all live on. That is the fight to which I've dedicated my life and to which I hope you will dedicate yours. And in that fight, I am Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.